many people know, like 5-year-olds can talk a lot.
That's what I was going to say when I first said, how does Hunter communicate? And I was going to say often.
She does. And sometimes her communication is, just her talking about her life, like
hilarious.
her simple things in life. But sometimes her talking is something deep she wants to tell me.
Yeah.
And you got to use your discernment to not rush kids all the time. I feel like sometimes we're in such a hurry that we rush them. And if we rush them, we don't hear what's really on their heart. Hello, everyone. We are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week, we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world.
Hey guys, welcome back. Super excited to be back in here chatting with you some more. Greg and I were just sitting here talking about more ways to be a team player, more ways to work as a family unit, more ways to stay connected, more ways to help develop it in the current. So in the future, your family not only builds upon what you have already taught them, but they take it to a whole new level. And we're excited to chat with you guys more about that today because there's just been so much of it happening in our family right now. And we're just passionate about it. We are passionate about the family units working as a team.
Mm-hmm. No, this is good. So let's just kind of jump in and let's talk about this whole communication piece, because I don't think that you can over communicate with your family as you're just navigating seasons, in particular in today's world where it feels like there is influence coming from every direction nonstop. There's influence in particular with TVs, media, and it's so present. Even if you're training your kids not to be using this stuff, they're around kids that are constantly using it. And so then that's kind of even that, so everywhere you go, there is somebody trying to influence you, whether it's all the marketing efforts that happen from every company. Hey, here's marketing. Okay. You're deficient in something. So therefore buy my product and all of a sudden you'll actually not be deficient anymore and fit in with the world better. Right. That's marketing. So then our kids are constantly bombarded with what they're missing instead of how great they are. So, one of the things about communication that you and I have picked up on is that all of our kids, they do it different, and that you and I need to adapt to the ways that they are best communicated with, whether it's like Abby, she's a pretty open book, which is great. And we love that about her. She's the one that when she feels she needs to talk about something, she's going to come talk to you about it. We've had to train her how to do it in the right timeliness. Because sometimes we'll be in the middle of doing something and she'll just kind of walk in a little bit in her own world, like we all get. And she'll be like, hey, I have a question, or I need to talk about something, and we're just like, okay, you might want to take a look around. Just notice that you just walked into 4 of us talking in a room or something, you know what I mean? And it's okay, you know what I mean? It's just, the great thing is she's willing, but then we have to make that time, to have those open conversations with her. If it's Bella, she's not like that. She's almost the opposite, where she's a little bit more, I would say, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like mysterious, almost a little bit more like just in her own shell with her thoughts. But if you actually spend some quality time with her, which is her love tank, then she will start opening up and she'll talk about anything, but you and I have learned that we got to make time for those little car rides to the store and going for the walk here, or doing little things like that, and asking, how's things going? Tell me about tennis. Tell me about your friends. Tell me about school. And she'll just start opening them up, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she's really good about it. And yeah, I think they're both so night and day difference, which really taught us that all of our kids are on how they communicate. But what's neat is you have to do enough of it. Mm-hmm. That's the key to the whole thing. You can know how your child likes to communicate with you, but if you don't do it on a regular basis, then it's not going to really help you guys, because it's really hard to get caught up after 6 months of not talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And then you leave it to a year and gosh, you're behind, right? And I mean, that's like with friendships, right? We all know that, right?
Yeah.
Like if we don't talk to our friends on a regular basis, we miss the connection on what's happening in their lives. And therefore we don't know what's going on, good or bad. And so same thing with our kids. You know, we just realize we need to be communicating with them in depth on a regular basis, not just the everyday humdrum life, you know? And so if you do that, your kids will open to you. And if you're willing to go out of like your own maybe comfort zone or your own way of doing something to communicate with your kids, then the connection will go deeper and deeper. And like, you know, Chrissy's, you know, totally different than them. She has a different communication way. You know, she definitely enjoys saying what's on her mind, but it usually is with time. You know, it's not a quick conversation. She likes really sitting down and walking through it and processing it, and she expresses herself, and she needs that length of time to be able to do that. You know, while Drews is, you know, if you get him in the car and start talking with him, he'll talk, but if you don't, he's just off doing what he wants to do all the time. But you have to ask him, because same thing. And sometimes guys and girls are different. You know, and we all know that. So instead of getting caught up in it or being like, why doesn't he sit down and talk to me about this stuff? You know, it's like, well, then why don't you find something that he likes to do or that you can connect with? And then he will tell you that kind of stuff. And then like Ellie's my one that like, typically it'll come at like the end of the night or something, you know, or when it's a quiet time and everybody else is doing something else, she'll come and chat with me about what's happening. And I think it's really interesting because I enjoy each of them. It's just being willing even when you don't want to. You know, and when I say don't want to, that sounds kind of harsh. Like maybe like you're like, what do you mean as their parent you don't want to hear? It's just that sometimes they come to you when you have your own stuff going on.
For sure.
And we have to be aware that they don't know all the stuff going on in your world. They don't know that you just got off a phone call or a text or an email that, you know, stressed you out. They don't know that you're dealing with your own friendships or, you know, husband and wife stuff or anything like that. So they come to you hoping that the timing's good. How you react to it matters.
Yeah.
And if you don't communicate, like you said, hey, honey, I want to hear everything you have to say. This minute's not good, but can we do it, you know, later today? We take a walk. Well, then they know, okay, I can hold off till later today.
Yeah. And then you got to follow through.
And then you have to follow through.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that and you just say, honey, it's not a good time. Can we talk about this some other time? Mm-hmm. Honestly, they start thinking, well, when is a good time? Because I thought that was I waited thinking that was a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I even tell the kids, like, sometimes if that happens, you know, they want to talk about something, I'll be like, listen, I'm in the middle of doing some work stuff. Let's do it tonight, you know, when we're doing whatever. And I say, but do me a favor, will you please remind me? Because I'm gonna most likely remember. But if for some reason I don't, then it's just because I got a million things going on, but I want to talk to you, you know? And they're good about that. And they're kind of cute about it now because they know that I'm a little Drusish, you know, as well, where I can get going different directions. And if I don't have my checklist in front of me, I can get a little bit all over the place. But they're really cute. They're like, so Dad, how about talkie time? They'll be kind of fun about it. And honestly, like you just said, normally by then I'm about fried from the day.
Right.
And the last thing I really feel like doing is having that conversation. But the exact thing I need to do is have that conversation, right? And that's just part of responding to our ability. That's part of reminding ourselves that I know I had a day, but you know what? Our kids are being stewarded by us. Like we're such an important part of their development right now, and them feeling secure in themselves and them being encouraged and loved. It comes from so much of just us that we got to make that time for them. And I don't know, for me, that's how I usually do it. When I flip it into, you know what, this really does matter. This matters for them. I got the energy for this. You know, God gives me the grace to do all these things. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So even though I don't feel like it, all right, God, I'll just lean on you for a little extra energy right now and help me be present, help me be fully all in. And then typically, I know for me, after I have those conversations, you know, when at first you kind of almost were fighting it internally, I feel more replenished. I feel like, oh, that was awesome. I'm glad I actually did that.
Well, and I think too, we have to remember, even maybe what they're communicating with us, we're thinking to ourselves like, okay, it's not a big deal. Why do we have to discuss this? I'm tired. You know what I mean? But to them, it's very big. Like to them in their world, whatever, you know, is happening, whether they, you know, had a communication with their sibling and they were arguing, or somebody at the tennis practice was rude to them, or they got excluded from being invited to something, or somebody said something that they took really offensive and it hurt them. You know what I mean? Like, we can look big picture and be like, that stuff doesn't matter, honey. Come on now. Like, who cares if somebody says something? But they need to process it, and they don't know who else to process with, right? And so we're their person. Just like, as husband and wife, mom and dad, you have your person, right? Like at the end of the day, it's like, I need to talk to somebody about it. You're my person. I want to discuss it with you. So, do you have time to discuss it?
I like being your person.
I like being yours too. But they feel the same way, and we are their person, and it matters. So, and I will tell you too, I don't know how many times, after I chat with my kiddos about whatever is on their mind or on their heart, typically in all different ways, they will come up to me. I'm so glad I have you, Mom. I'm so glad I can talk to you about this. I'm so glad that you gave me that perspective. You know what I mean? Like, and I know they do the same thing for you. You know what I mean? They tell you thank you for taking the time because it meant that much to them.
Yeah. So good. There's remember that great book by Danny Silk called Keep Your Love On?
Yes.
And the whole book, the concept is it's about marriage, but same thing with like kids and everything else. It's all about that, in a relationship that's going to last, it's going to be healthy, that there has to be almost a covenant in it that above everything else, no matter what goes on, we are committed to protecting our connection with each other. And that means you have to have strategies for things. You have to have strategies for, okay, when you need to talk about something, how do we do this? And how do you not give up seeking it? And then also on the other end, how do you, just like we're talking about, how do you make sure that you make the energy and effort to do it? Right. The other things are like, okay, what if somebody gets mad at the other one? What if somebody offends someone or hurts them somehow? How do we actually handle conflict with honor, always knowing that we are going to make it through this and be okay through this? Because our covenant is we're never letting anything become too big a deal that ever hurts connection between us. Right. Ultimately, we might have a little tiff, we might have a little challenge, but ultimately though, like we're in this together, and there's no turning back from that. You know what I mean? That's been a staple in getting you and I through some really hard times, where we've trying to protect that covenant, that commitment, I mean, with our kids, the same thing though. Like, we got to really work hard on protecting that connection all the time. Such a good book and such a great way to say what we're trying to do,
yes.
Which is really good.
Yeah. Protecting that connection is so important.
Yeah. So, how about other things about communicating, honey? How does Hunter like to communicate?
She's really cute. I mean, obviously she's quality time, so anything to do with anything fun with quality time, she's like, I'm in. But she's really interesting because she's 5, so she only has so much vocabulary that she could express herself with. But she does come when things hurt her feelings or when people are doing things that are not correct. She will come and tell me, and try to express it to me. It really hits me though anytime I'm like trying to explain something to her, and it could be either she's, I'm correcting her, or it could be I'm trying to explain to her something that I want her to do that's kind of taking on a responsibility. If she doesn't understand, she'll say to me, I don't understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And when a 5-year-old tells you that, it's like, okay, wow. Like, and I know I don't get mad. I'm like, what part of this don't you understand? You know, she's telling me I don't understand. Mm-hmm. So even if I'm correcting her sometimes, do you understand what I said? I don't understand what you're saying. And I want to be like, you just did blank, blank wrong. What don't you understand? Yeah. But for whatever reason, we need to take time to reword it in a way that does make sense to her.
Yeah. And I know both you and I, we've encouraged this. So like sometimes I know when I've had conversations with her and I'm just trying to explain something to her, maybe to go do something or whatever, and she'll just kind of look blankly and kind of nod her head slowly. And I can see that there's something off, And so I'll usually just take that second and be like, okay, honey, is there something you don't understand about this? And she's like, I don't understand, and you can almost tell like she's debating, should I say I don't understand? Correct. Or should I just go like pretend that I do and
not do it
or just do something?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, let me help explain this again. And then I'll say it in a different way that I think might be words that she gets better. And then eventually she's like, oh, okay, no problem. And she goes and does whatever. But it's, again, like you were saying a couple episodes ago, it's that kind of stuff takes that extra effort.
Correct.
When you're in a hurry, when you don't feel like it, like you got to take that extra step. And because of that, again, it's another thing where I feel like Hunter really trusts us. So if she doesn't get something, she will come to us. She really will.
Well, and even like, many people know, like 5-year-olds can talk a lot. Like they can talk a lot. And they can
That's what I was going to say when I first said, how does Hunter communicate? And I was going to say often.
She does.
And loudly.
And sometimes her communication is, just her talking about her life.
She's
like
hilarious.
Her simple things in life. But sometimes her talking is something deep she wants to tell me.
Yeah.
And you got to use your discernment to like not rush kids all the time. I feel like sometimes we're in such a hurry that we rush them. And if we rush them, we don't hear what's really on their heart. And that's super important to realize that you have to just use discernment, because I know we're all busy. You know what I mean? But some of the times when I've slowed down is when she's told me things that I'm like, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's
great.
really huge.
She also has a pretty good jaw-jacking game going on for 4 and 5 years old. She'll throw on her Ohio State shirt, and I'll have my Michigan shirt on, and she'll come up and she'll goof around with me or laugh with me or joke with me about something or say, Dad, let's dance for a second or whatever. And she'll say, Dad, I sure do love you, but I do not like your shirt.
Yeah.
She always says, what she said the other day was so funny. Oh, we were driving after we got done golfing, and we were going by and we drove by this school where we were playing tennis earlier, and you took her and walked over to a park area, right? So she saw the park out of the window, and we were saying, okay, see you later, tennis court, see you later, high school. And she, and what did she say? Instead, because we always say like, see you later, alligator, after a while, crocodile. And she goes, see you later, park-a-gator.
Yeah.
I was like, you were hilarious. You were so funny.
She's so funny.
Well. Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. See you next time.